Hey parents and students, so for tonight's homework, students are going to create angles and label them. This will be on their test Friday, so please make sure to go through thoroughly with your students, specifically on how to draw the angles. That seems to be the most difficult part students are having. So for instance, if we have an obtuse angle DEF, students, I always tell them to go around that special right angle. So the first thing they should do if they're having trouble is draw a right angle, which is a perfect square corner. So we got our right angle here, and just prompt students, is an obtuse angle less than a right angle where it's folding in, or is it greater than a right angle where it's leaning out? Yes, an obtuse angle leans out. So we're going to kind of pretend that we're taking this little piece right here and pulling it out. And then we're going to come from this vertex here, the end point, and pull out to form an obtuse angle. Now, once I have that, we'll go ahead and erase that reference point of the right angle. So there's an obtuse angle. But the next thing that they're going to have to be able to do is label it. So this is obtuse angle DEF. So we're going to make sure I always ask them to trace it. DEF, DEF. So we're going to go through, put it point, D, vertex, E, another point, F. It's the most important part is that at the vertex or the angle point, it's this middle letter. That's the only part that really has to be on point. So just another example of how to draw an angle, only this time we're going to draw an acute angle. So the thing that I always tell students is an acute angle is so cute because it's smaller than a right. Now, most students got this down pretty well, but just in case if anyone's having trouble, again, we go to that reference point of the perfect square corner, the right angle. And acute, is acute leaning in, so it's smaller, or is it leaning out? Yep, an acute angle leans in. So we're going to pull from that vertex here. Pull it in. It can go anywhere inside of this right angle as long as it's not lined up perfectly over here. And then we'll erase that part that made the right angle, and there's your acute angle. Now, on the test, they have to make sure that they label it. So here's the angle, that's half the battle. Next, LMN. Now remember, that middle letter has to be at the vertex. So trace the angle, LMN, LMN. So here we go, point, L, vertex, M, point at the arrow, N. There's your acute angle, LMN. Now, on the back side of tonight's homework, they have shapes, and they have to find the angles and shapes. This is a little more difficult for students. However, the expectation is that they are drawing the angles inside of the shape. I'll go over that a little more in just a moment. But a good rule of thumb is however many sides there are. So in this case, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides. That's how many angles there are. Next, just choose an angle, any angle. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to choose to start here. So I'm going to kind of draw a little angle inside of this shape. And I'm going to look, and if you need to, kind of turn it. Okay, that looks more like an obtuse. Because if it was a right, but barely, it would be kind of sticking straight up. This is clearly leaning out a little bit. So I'm just going to put an O for obtuse. And then our next one, just go right around. Next one would be right here. And let's see, that one looks almost like, if I turn it, a square corner. So that would be a right. Then we got another one. that one out a little too much. That's okay. Okay, so turn. If they can't tell, have them turn it. Yeah, this one I messed up a little bit, but that's okay. So right here, just barely leaning out. Another obtuse. Doing this next one. Oh, that one looks like it's leaning out again. Another obtuse. Oh, and our final one looks like it's leaning out as well. So one obtuse. Now in their homework, to the right side, you'll see these columns, A, O, R. That just stands for A for acute angle, O for obtuse angle, R for right angle. So we're going to count them up. We got one right angle. So I'm going to come over here. One. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 obtuse. And we have no acutes, so 0. Okay, now let's just do a quick little, let's just do a triangle. So if we look here, ooh, this is actually a right triangle. That's our next lesson we'll be getting into. We have a square corner here. So we're going to start at this corner and work our way around. Right angle. Draw the angles inside. Oh, now that looks smaller. It looks like it's closing up. So that's in acute. That one looks like it's closing up too. So another acute. So when I come over here and I'm looking, acutes, I got 1, 2. 2 acutes. Obtuse, no obtuse. So 0 obtuse. And 1 right. And there again is that rule of thumb. 1, 2, 3 sides. 2 plus 0 is 2 plus 1, 3 angles. If students are still having trouble, please make sure that they come to me first thing in the morning or to my center. Have a good night.